Hey guys, my name is Roger and this is Jolly Roger Craftworks. On this episode I'm building a fence for my miter saw station. You can see I've already got it done behind me, but if you want to see how I did it, stick around. So I started out with 2 pieces of plywood that I ripped down. They're 4 feet long and one of them's 4 inches wide and the other one is a little less than 4 inches, basically the thickness of the plywood short of 4 inches. And I'm drilling pocket holes the length of one of these, about 6 inches apart. Now you notice the other one, I've got a dado cut the length of the plywood. That's going to be for a T-track. Now here I'm actually connecting the 2 pieces of plywood together using the pocket holes that I drilled in the previous clip. And now I'm adding some blocks to the backside just to help keep the plywood square. This is going to be a fence for the miter station, so I want to make sure that the front face stays square at all times. And now I'm adding the block to the other end, and when I finish this one, I'll add one more to the center. Here I'm adding the aluminum T-track to the dado that I'd cut earlier. Unfortunately, these screws are a little bit too long and stick out the back, which you'll see later, but that's okay. I'll either trim them off or replace them with some shorter screws at another time. Here I'm using this 8-foot long level as a straight edge to line up the fence to the saw. Once I get it lined up, I screw it down to the tabletop temporarily to keep it from moving. Now I come back and remove the screws that I used to temporarily hold it down, and I'm drilling out the holes big enough for the thumb screws to fit in. Now here in the tabletop only, I'm drilling out the holes big enough for the threaded inserts. Now I'm inserting the threaded inserts using this hex key. These are got a coarse thread on the outside and a thinner thread on the inside that the thumb screws will screw into. Now this shot gives you a little bit better idea of what these threaded inserts look like. You can see how coarse those threads are on the outside, even with my hand almost in the way of the camera. And if you notice, once you're done, these are completely flush with the top of the table. And then these are the thumb screws that'll screw in. So here I'm adding the last insert. I've got 3 of these inserts on each fence on either side of the saw. As you can see here, the threads on these thumb screws aren't quite long enough to reach through the 3/4 inch plywood. So I'm taking this spade bit and drilling about a 1/4 inch or so down, just to give the threads just enough length sticking out the back to bite into those threads on the inside of the insert. You can also see here those screws that I used to screw down the T-track sticking out the back. And finally here I'm able to use the thumb screws to attach the fence to the tabletop. Now the whole purpose of these thumb screws is to be able to remove this fence if I'm not using the miter saw, so that I can use this tabletop as a work surface. And I've also just took a small block of wood and drilled a hole through it and used that to put on this T-bolt to create the stop block. So I'll be able to hand tighten this or loosen it and slide the stop block back and forth to whatever length I need. Guys, if you haven't seen the video on how I built this miter saw table, I'll put a link in the description. You should check that out. Also have some affiliate links to the parts that I use to make these fences. Anything you purchase through those links won't cost you anything extra, and it'll help me out just a little bit, so I appreciate that. So I repeated the whole process to make the fence for the other side of the saw. Now that I have that done, I'm marking 2 feet from the edge of the blade onto the fence so that I can attach a stick-on ruler. Here I'm using the stop block as a guide to mark a pencil line. I'll use this pencil line to make sure I put the ruler on straight. So if you notice, I've got my thumb of my right hand right at the 24-inch mark, and I'm lining that up with the mark that I measured and marked on the fence. So that spot is exactly 24 inches from the blade. And then I just stick down the rest of the ruler, trim it off, and then I'll be able to use that to set the stop block to any length I need and be able to make repeatable cuts. I've also ordered one of these rulers that reads right to left, so I'll be able to put that on the other side of the saw and be able to measure from the left side of the saw from right to left. But that hasn't come in yet, so I'll add it as soon as it does. Okay, so here I am setting the stop block at that 2 foot mark, and I'm going to cut a board just to check and make sure that how accurate my measurements are. So I've just got a scrap piece of wood here that I'm cutting to 2 feet. Alright, I know that was kind of hard to see, but it's pretty close to accurate. Maybe less than 30 seconds off. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's my fence for the Miter Saw Station. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, hit like, hit subscribe. It'll help me out. Share the video. Leave a comment. Try to be nice, guys. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.